Oh, it seems we're live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I'm your griot sensei, here to tell you stories, to inform, and entertainment. This is primarily for your entertainment and the edification and education you may glean from this is strictly manifested by your own consciousness. And those who don't have any consciousness shouldn't be watching this show. That is what I consider a child. And the child is not measured by age, but representation of their consciousness. So, how you doing out there? Well, it's getting a little toasty with the mosty. Today was an interesting day. So, someone was telling me how they watch my show, and every time I become naked, they scratch their head. Other people are going, don't you feel nervous about how you look? Not really. This is how I look. It doesn't seem to scare anyone. Children and people with sensitive, whatever you want to call it, don't run away screaming. And people who find me charming and attractive still find me charming and attractive. So, no, and people, weren't you nervous? Weren't you nervous with your life? I mean, weren't you scared? No, never been, Yes, there was a little episode when I possessed for my life with my grandmother, unconditionally loving, constantly walking me the streets of New York, viewing and experiencing the amazing dynamics of the culture of New York City and the people of New York City, and submerging myself in the diversity of the experience of being a human being, and having in that 6 years about 12 amazing mature mentors who cherished my presence and loved me unconditionally and didn't threaten me or traumatize me in any way. And then I went to my folks, my biological parents, or seemingly so, and experienced the feral construct of conflict and ego and trauma, and it didn't seem to faze me at all because I couldn't quite understand why they were doing this, because it made no sense. Whereas I live in this other, world, this other dimension, this other universe of unconditional love, intelligence. It was almost like the Star Trek, motif of Gene Roddenberry, looking for, people to be. What does it say here? Where's my battery? Is it my battery? No, I have 98% battery, so I'm great. Right? but I wasn't wearing my glasses and I didn't see what it said. But today was an interesting day. Yesterday I took the day off. I didn't do any live chats, didn't put a show up, and I'm still not haven't. My my phone actually can do a show, and this when I'm out and about, this is a lot more convenient to use than the laptop. But and also, it's less invasive. Like I went to one of my favorite places. When I found, I've been gone from Roanoke for 3 years, right? And not only is John the person, oh please come back, oh I want you here, let's do blah 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 blah. Right? There are other folks that I was involved with that I helped develop organizations, cultural dynamics, directions of communities, many things, right? And, for a good 15, 18 years, I tried to nurture these folks into being their best, right? And pretty much there's something in Roanoke where it's a plethora of amazingly talented, gifted people who their hearts are in the right place and they want to do the right thing, but they don't seem to be able to motivate themselves to do it, right? They can't do that simple little task of being their best every minute of the time how you be your best and do your best is to realize you're not perfect. So you don't have to live up to that standard. Like religions, you're a sinner because you can't be perfect. Can't be like Jesus Christ, so you're a sinner. No, that isn't what, if you truly read the Old Testament, if you read the Torah, then you read the New Testament, especially if you read the version of the Greek Orthodox New Testament that Jesus actually wrote when he was hanging out there with Mary and the rest of the gang. When I say rest of the gang, it wasn't the people who were advertised as Jesus, adepts, or his, crew, right? These were his real crew, which were mostly women, Jesus, his real adepts were women, not guys. The 13 chuckleheads, who wrote the New Testament or the King James version, the comic book. It's like, please. Not to say the King James is bad or anything. It's just a comic book. And, look at Captain America. That's a pretty good comic book, It kind of gave us the heads up of exactly what's happening here. But today was a quite interesting day because, I went and saw all my doctors who, took blood, just, was checking me out under the hood a couple of weeks ago, and I went back and saw them, and they gave me my, what's going on, and they all said, you're amazing in that you are the most healthy dead guy that they'd ever seen. I mean, I still have all the stuff wrong with me, but I have it in what is known as homeostasis, like right now, right? I have this, because that nun, Chris is here. I have, I've had a lifetime of Tennyson. But instead of complain, I mean, when this happened to me and I was, with the Marinols and I was with a guy who was an audio hearing specialist and a speech pathologist, he taught me how to, speak and to hear with the, meaning they put my jaw back together in my eye orbit and my head. I mean, my head was crushed like a grape. And all the scissors, and I was still young enough where it was soft enough that, the nun really did a job on my head. But it didn't kill me. It didn't, destroy my brain or my cerebral cortex and all the damage that it did. It seemed to making me better. That's a very subjective term. But it definitely made me different from the rest of the crowd. I have this hearing that it's like, Doppler radar. I can when I hear when I'm out in the woods and I'm alone, I can hear where everything is. And with this eye, I can see other frequencies that most people can't. So I can see things that most people can't. But my Tennyson ear is quite an interesting thing because it picks up auditory. I mean, I hear it auditorily. Um, I hear energies. So when I hear people speak, I hear the energy in their word. And in Dune, how that book, Herbert's book, really talks. The power is of logos. Of the word Plato talks about the power of logos, the word, and I hear that. But when I was tested for it, the guy said, "Oh, you have this stuff called Tennyson, but it's in you. It's a bit strange, and I don't know how you're going to respond to it." So I've been hearing it for at least a good 50 years or more. 72, pushing 72, and this happened to me when I was 6, so or 7. So at least a good 60 something years, and so. But I hear it also as Tennyson, this kind of constant little buzz in the background. But it adds this dimension of, knowing where things are. And, it's like sonar, radar. It kind of goes out and I get the reflection back. And so all of this stuff that happened to me, it has been over the years kind of, molded into a net of sensory understanding. And that's why I can cold read people. So today I was out and about, and I first went to a restaurant that I always had breakfast at. This guy at Full Moon Bakery, amazing baker, right? And an amazing coffee shop. Right? So he has amazing croissants, amazing cookies, amazing real New York bagels, and he so I went into him, and this guy's pushing 80, and he's still running around. His wife is still running around, and he looked up. Oh, I thought you were dead. No, it's good to see you. You look great. You lost all that weight, man. You're and he's the only guy who basically has eyes to see. So, oh, you're half the guy you used to be. You look great. And you don't have those things on your legs. You're not walking with it. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Most people just take for granted. Oh, well, he's okay. He never was sick, or there's nothing wrong with him. He's okay. And I am okay. And but the Tennyson I hear reminds me that yes, there's all these, and then I have to get up every 20 minutes and walk around. There's Anthony. Good to see you, buddy. Missed you. Please don't leave. It was one day. I took one day off. What are you guys going to do when I go back to Deep Green and do a show once a week? You better, like I'm telling you guys, you better go back and record all of my past shows and have it on your hard drive, just because I'm pretty sure that our present day internet is going to be taken away, because it was designed by DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Program, guys who I used to work for in many different ways. And, it was designed to survive a nuclear war, right? And it was designed to be a part of COG, and that's a continuation of government. That's this dark. When they talk about a deep state, COG is a deep state, and you should go research COG. And a good place to start to look at any of this interesting stuff about the world you live in that you have no idea about is to go watch a channel, a YouTube program called Dark Journalism, right? And so go watch that. And the guy's always got to wear a black suit, white shirt, black little thin tie, loosely around his neck. He's got a Van Dyke beard, kind of like I do, but I let it. I cut this once a year. This keeps growing, and I'm growing this. I don't know if you've ever seen Japanese, kung fu, jujitsu movies, and there's always the master who's got a 6 a 4-foot white beard, and he's always going like this, and he's always like breaking it off into two things. And this is a kind of Shinto kind of energy thing. Anyway, so so I cut the chops here off once or twice a year, give or take. And uh, so I went to this favorite place I go for breakfast and went there, and he definitely said, "Oh wow, man, you're half the guy I used to be." But John, he can't even. He actually has a video of me that he edited into the Christmas video, which you guys should go see. And I was 100 pounds heavier than I am right today. And he goes, "No, you were just wearing baggy clothes." Like he doesn't want to realize that not only did I lose 100 pounds, I lost 240 pounds. Now it took me 6 years, and I did it I didn't fast forever and lost 240 pounds. No, I just kind of over 6 years, I changed my diet, changed my lifestyle, went back to being, the sensei that I am, the adept that I am, I lived a conscious, aware life, right? And because when I was working in the corporate world, making ridiculous money for doing nothing. I sat on my butt. Didn't even read books. I just, drove people. I was my cheeky little monkey self, and would push people's buttons to the point that they would break, so that they could then, see the forest through the trees and realize they should sign this contract and everyone be kumbaya, right? That's what I did for 10 years, 11 years. And I got paid ridiculous amounts of money for it, which shows the dynamic of the corporate scene, right? So anyway, now I was replaced by an app. I was gone for 6 years. About 2 years ago, when I left John here 3 years ago, I took out my little black book and called up some of my clients and said, "Hey, here I am. I'm alive, and I'm ready to go back to work. You got any projects for me?" Because if I went back to work for those guys, I wouldn't do the total Monty of hedonism. I would be the sensei, right? Which I was, but I was being the cheeky monkey sensei. And anyway, so they all said, "Oh, well, it's great. We thought you were dead, and it's nice that you're alive. But no, we don't need you because we've replaced you with an app." And that is what's going to happen to pretty much everyone. The only people who will not be replaced by an app will be plumbers, carpenters, and electricians, right? Because everything else is repetitive. Like first, people who are already being replaced by artificial intelligence and apps are doctors, nurses, and lawyers. Case in point is me. They replaced me, the negotiator guy who always came through, always, delivered within a freaking app, right? Way cheaper, never goes away, doesn't go on vacation, doesn't show up looking like a homeless guy. It does. So anyway, I went into this restaurant, and there's Mr. Moon, and he, hey, and he gave me my usual, which was he has these great croissants. And I had sausage, egg, and cheese croissant, and it's like ambrosia. And coffee, really, he still has really good coffee, not watered down swill. And I went in there, and he's got pretty good Wi-Fi. And I was going to take up my little laptop and write some, but there was this little old guy sitting at my table. So, I didn't get upset. I just sat at another table. And he replaced me, right? He was doing exactly what I did. And he's a bit older. He's like maybe 89, pushing 90. He's in really good health. And anyway, so he's reading the paper, and I, break the sub. "Hey, can I read some of this paper?" "Oh, sure, here. Read the paper." So anyway, I read it, and then he goes, "Read the front page." And it was a thing about Biden. He goes, "Commissar Biden." And I kind of laugh, and we start it off. This guy was in World War II. He's just like my mentor and teacher, Adam Purple, right? But different because he came from the Midwest rather than Brooklyn. He had a, he wasn't, Adams, joined the Merchant Marines at 17. This guy joined at, he was drafted at 18. And he went into the military just as World War II was ending. So they sent him to Germany, to like be there. Well, they were going through, you know, pasting Europe back together. And it was interesting when I lived in Europe in the late 60s, early 70s, and then middle 70s, and then 80s. There were still buildings in London that hadn't been fixed up from the bombing, from the Blitz, right? But anyway, this guy went to Germany, and he went to Bavaria, where there wasn't the kind of havoc. It wasn't like right on the border, and it wasn't the incoming, Cold War, and it wasn't, as destroyed by bombing as the other parts of Germany was. I mean, it had its thing, but not so much. And so he was there, so he didn't really have much to do. So he would go. He bought. He was. He could type, and he could file things. And his commanding officer was doing other stuff, making money on the side, the black market. So he was kind of just, taking care of business. And his boss got him, really fancy schmancy, like, a Nazi Mercedes. And he had his, army car. So he gave it to this guy. And the guy was driving all over Germany. And he would, he spray painted his car, and took off all the, the stars and the numbers and painted it like a black rather than a green. And he drove around, but it's pretty obviously this is, was a Ford, whatever a staff car is. And, he would drive around without his uniform, and he'd go into these little towns and he'd find a nice little restaurant. He'd get there and he would sit down at a table where a whole bunch of guys were talking German and, drinking and whatever. And he would listen, and then he'd say, "Speak German." And they'd kind of look at him because they were speaking German, but because they were in Brussels, or not Brussels, but Bavaria, it didn't quite sound like German to him. And so they laughed, and they kind of started telling him that Germany had many states that were like little countries, and they were, kind of like the United States. And obviously you're an American. And so anyway, he had a pretty interesting ear for languages and quite quickly picked it up because he was in a place that had like all these people who had different, came from different parts of Germany. So it's like guys coming from Brooklyn and guys coming from Texas and guys coming from Washington and guys coming from New Orleans, all Americans, but they're all pretty different. And he was picking up all that. And his boss got a new job because he found out that he was, playing the black market. So he, went to, he went straight into intelligence. So he brought this guy along, and the guy had a career of 35 years in the military, and he was in every branch. He was in the Air Force. He was not in the Navy, but he was in naval intelligence. So he was in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and he even whatchamacallit, the guys who the Coast Guard, because he was doing intelligence, and all those things have intelligence stuff. So anyway, I know a lot about it, so I started asking him questions. He started looking at me like, "Boy, you're not the average guy. You kind of know stuff that I was doing. That's kind of interesting." And he's old, and I think most people look at him like he's, demented or because he just keeps making these interesting comments, and no one knows what the heck he's talking about. But once he started doing to me, I kind of knew exactly because he was in Tehran when Churchill, FDR, and Stalin sliced the place up. He saw the, and he wasn't, he didn't kind of have the education I did. He didn't have, but he had the amazing fortuity and space to be in the right place at the right time and experience history. And here I'm in this, little coffee shop bakery in Roanoke, Virginia, bumping into a guy who was like, so anyway, I took out my little phone, did a live chat, and it kind of puttered. It would stem and stern, but it was doing it. But my phone isn't putting this shit straight up to the channel. I mean, it does sometimes, some of the stuff I did, but I have no idea why it's taking so long. I mean, my laptop renders straight up to the channel within an hour, 6-hour show within an hour or two, right? My phone takes days if it does it at all. So I'm going to bring my laptop in the next few days. I said, so he goes, I have breakfast here every day. And I said, can I videotape you? And he goes, yeah, can we videotape our conversation and the stories you got? And he goes, yeah, it'd be good. Be nice. People should know about this stuff. So, 1 cake a day diet. Yes. I'm not doing that again. I mean, so I had one of Mr. Moon's, he has the best chocolate chip cookies. I mean, they're mind-boggling. So I had one. Not 20, one. And I dunked it in my coffee, and I nibbled a little chunk and was like, ooh, right? And it's much better to enjoy that one cookie than to, binge, a box of them. It would kill you. I mean, I couldn't do it. I mean, the sugar alone would probably put me into a diabetic coma. So anyway, and I came and checked my blood sugar, and that one cookie didn't harm me. Right? That one croissant did not harm me. Anyway, so I had an amazing conversation with him, and I left him to go see my doctors, and I just waltzed in. I mean, today was perfect timing. I went to have breakfast. I thought I'd show up to the doctors early, but I went to Mr. Moon's just to see him and have see if his food was still as great as it was, and it surely was. And most of the restaurants that I used to I've tried out. It's like slop. They're cutting every corner, and it's just slop, right? But not Mr. Moon. So, and then I ran into this guy and talked to him for like 2 hours. And I said, oh, look at the time. I probably already missed my appointments. And I just waltzed in, and the guy said, oh, perfect timing. I came in early. You'd been waiting here for 2 hours. I'm all ready for you. Here, come on, walk in. So I did. And again, I saw 3 of my, high-priced spared doctors here in Roanoke, Carillion guys. And they all said, they all gave me tests, ultrasounds and x-rays and all this shit. And I came, went back, 3 weeks later after and all the blood tests and all the other tests I did. And, they said, yeah, you're still as screwed up as, fucked up as you were when you were about dead, but your homeostasis, all of the, there are certain, you have your cholesterol, your blood pressure, there are a lot of things, and this is set rate. And a set rate, and I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but the set rate is this thing that measures your inflammation in your body. And the number one thing that'll kill you is inflammation. When your body starts to go into cortisol shock, which is inflammation, your body goes into all these amazing things to try and save you, and that's usually what kills you. And this, the people who were dying early on with the 19 it was basically their immune system killing them, right? Especially in China. Those people who would you saw videos of them just dropping over dead in the trains. They were like going to work and boom, they're dead. Well, that's your immune system like going nuts to try and get rid of the invader. But my body is doing quite nicely, but not, Anyway, so I got a good bill of health, and I was talking to him about the 19, and that, I had to get the shot early on. because where I get health care in the squirrely deep green, it's a HMO there, and there's one doctor for 1,200 patients, right? And the guy likes me, and so I see him at the end of the day, and he takes care of whatever needs to be taken care of, and then we talk for an hour. He asks me questions about whatever, right? So when this, we were talking about this 19 thing for, when it started and, all the rest. And, when the jab came up, he basically said, well, um, you're going to have to get this because if you don't get it, we won't be able to take care of you, period. That's been decided, right? I said, okay, this is how it works. If you get the shot, if you take the jab, I will take the jab. And he said, okay, I can make that deal. So he did, and it was truly amazing because the third day they had this stuff in the fridge. They were calling me to get it. I'm out there in the middle of the deep green and, didn't get it. But I went to see him, and the lady at the phone, at the desk said, I just called you. And you didn't answer the phone, but here you are working. Are you ready to get your jab? And I said, where's the doctor? And he goes, well, he's seeing somebody else, but you can go into, you know, you know, room 3 over there, and the nurse will, take your vitals, and then he'll see you, and he wants to talk to you. So I said, fine. So I did. And he came in. I said, so you got your jab? And he showed me his little bandage. He said, yep, just got this morning. I said, so you're still alive? He goes, yes. If there was any effect, yeah, I'd probably be, in coma now. But no, feel fine. I said, shouldn't I wait a few days to see if you're still alive? And he laughed and he said, come on, you're here right now. You know the story. You need this if you want me to still take care of you. And I said, okay. Shoot me, baby. So I did, got my shots. And so, I'm totally immunized, right? So before I left, I saw him in October, and he said, and this is before they really, the variants hit and all this. But I read this report in Lansing about, the information that they started they're putting together. That probably if you got sick and didn't die, your immune was probably as good or better than the jab, right? And the other thing was that until the rest of the world gets either herd immunity or jabbed, this thing's going to be around, and they're not doing too well at jabbing, the third world where all these variants are coming from, like South America and South Africa. So I said, they're going to want to start giving people boosters, and I've got my shots, and if whatever immunity this thing is, that jab will be as good as it was the day you gave it to me till the day it. And he goes, yes, I understand. And I said, ethically, it's not right for all of us to get these boosters when the rest of the world hasn't even had one shot. So that's going to be my thing, and that should suffice. You throwing me out of here? And he goes, yeah, not a problem. I would say you're good to go because I'm not. He said, I'm not. And I said, it goes back to that. If you get the booster, he goes, no one, all the other nurses and people who work here, they got their shots, and they're seeing the data themselves, and they're realizing they're not going to get the jab. Okay, so good. We're all on the same page. Everyone there is not going to get a booster and not get a jab until the state does some crazy thing and demands. But Tennessee I don't think they're going to do that. And so I just tested positive. Okay, feeling okay, right? So, truly, you're probably a youngster, and you will have your immunity probably, and you'll be fine, right? I mean, if you really look at the data on this, go to Joe Rogan, go to Jimmy Dore, go to a lot of people up there. They're way more well versed than I am on this. Yeah, you're 28, not a problem. to my, I'm not a doctor. I don't even know you, but we're just talking in generalized terms here, right? So, stay alive. Tool, did you get jabbed? Because if you got jabbed and you're positive, that kind of he's another. So, Tool, you are a lab rat. You will be able to give us real time data on what's going on, right? And thanks for your sacrifice. And no, you didn't get a jab. Okay. Yeah, 28 is a lucky number. It's one of those Masonic numbers. So I met this guy, had an amazing conversation, did a live chat. It was going out, people were responding. And so I'm going to bring my laptop tomorrow so it will be up on there because my phone has put up 3 or 4. I've done about 5 live chats with my phone because I had it in my hand and said, okay, boom, did it. Now, other people have said that I blocked, made it non-public. On my laptop, everything is public. I just went through, looked at everything, every button I have to push before I go live instead of just, push and go live. And the one thing I did, put in there that you could only chat if you were a subscriber. And, you had to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes. So I was thinking that would keep down the trolls and bots, right? So anyway, so then I went from there to the doctors. I got a full good thing of health. We had a nice conversation. I talked to 3 different doctors, and all in the same Carillion, monster building. But there are different, I just went from one to the next, and it was quite interesting because they were all, perfect timing. If you had to, we've been waiting here, you'd be in the waiting room, and now you just come on in. So I saw all of them. They all gave me, all the tests. Well, it's pretty amazing that you still have I still have diabetes, still have all the stuff. I still have it. And I'm not taking their drugs. I did the first 3 years because I had to get a baseline, and then I changed my diet to fit my illness, and I took supplements and meditation, and I'm doing really good with that, right? And they're all amazed, and they want, and this one guy, endocrinologist, said, I want to sit down with you seriously one day and take apart what you do and see if we can make a protocol that we can kind of inch into the medical world. And I said, yeah, that's called alternative medicine, and I'm down with you, buddy. I used to practice that, right? So that was so today was a day of interesting things. I meet this old guy who's a fund of information who wants to do live chats, over a sandwich and cup of coffee. So I'm going to do that for the next few days, maybe week, or as long as he wants to do it, because this guy sounds like he's done that kind of work really across the board through many different things. And we were talking about the military-industrial complex, and he said that it was a total scam because, and this guy, this smart guy, he stopped doing this in 91. He did it from World War II to 91. That's how good he was at doing this, right? And we had, and I know technology. So we were talking about different weapons platforms and different political events, and it was really great because I said, so what do you know about foreign technology? He knew exactly what that means, right? And I said, so what do you think about what's been going on since Iran Contra? What Iran Contra is an extension of what the Spanish American War was what was that doctrine that said anything in the Americas is ours, right? So we talked all about that, and geopolitics, and when I used my term of Mr. Globaloni, he knew, this guy, and everyone kind of thinks he's just an old guy who's kind of, around the bend a little bit, but no, this guy's sharp as a tool. And so I'm going to be talking to him in the next few days, so those should be interesting. And he's very interesting because everything is coded. The first story you guys seemed to like was about the old crone and me in the reserved library of Alexandria at the university in Dublin, Trinity, the oldest school, school that's run consecutively longer than any other school in modern history, like about 3,000 years. That's why a chunk of the Library of Alexander's is there. So anyway, so he talks that same way, like in code. Very interesting. It'll be fun for you guys to see if you can understand what we're talking about. I will, at certain points, I will step back and explain to the audience what he's talking about, right? So, and then he will either concur or go on and explain other things. So those should be interesting the next few days and weeks. That's right. So then I went, from there to the doctors and had interesting. And then I went over, saw a friend of mine who has a business that he just started 25 years ago, like as a lark, as a hobby. And he was a guy who, his job, he was a seaman, boatman, a sailor, and he worked for a company called Burger Boats, who make the biggest, gigantic yachts, zillion-dollar yachts. And he helped design them, helped build, not physically, oversee the building of them in the boatyard. And he would take them out and make sure that they really worked. And then he would go to the client who bought the boat, and he would deal with the client who bought the boat from the beginning. When they walk in, I want a boat, and they say, oh, what kind of boat? They design, that's Burger. They kind of designed the boat for you, not just straight off an assembly line. That's why those boats are so amazing. And he did that for a good, at least almost 20 years. And so he lived in places like Hawaii, California, Florida, Caribbean. And he was, he sailed on these really amazing boats all over the world, in Europe, the Mediterranean. So that was that life, right? And he had loads of fun. He's a loads of fun kind of guy. He's got tons of stories. And then he met his wife, and she lived in Roanoke, and that's where she came from. He didn't come from here. And they had kids, so he kind of got a job, and he kind of took his design skill set and designed, add-ons for rich people's house. He dealt with it like it was basically the same kind of clientele, but not with a boat, but their house. And he would kind of design these one-off amazing environments for them. And then, and he was very nautical, so these things always kind of had a nautical flair. Then he met this other guy who had a contracting business who came from the silver spoon in the mouth side. It's called the south side of Roanoke. It's where all the rich people are. It's where the big super buildings of the Carillion Empire are, the new ones that the state built. Anyway, so they're like Mutt and Jeff. So my buddy is like fun and arty and creative. And the other guy kind of is creative, but business, so he's like a banker. Anyway, so they're quite a very good crew. And so they started a business, a salvage business, and, more or less like a hobby, and it just kept being more and more successful until 25 years. And they had a TV show on one of those, repair your house kind of things. And so they have a business that deals with, taking stuff they take out of old buildings, and they don't just put it in a warehouse and sell it. they then turn it into something like furniture, or and they have different elements, and they made all kinds of paints and all different kinds of products that go to this, taking that kind of stuff and turning it into something else. And they have a shop downstairs, and they continue to do the contracting thing that both those guys were doing. So they have quite an interesting business. And I was really sick, and up here at the school, and I had spent 4 months in Florida, and stopped being dead, and like sucked all the crap out of me, and I changed my metabolism, and I was starting to lose weight, and then I came here, and so I hadn't really worked. I had spent a lot of money on being sick, and paying off debt, and so I just stayed here, and I had quite a bit of oatmeal and onions, and so I came back from Florida around before July, and so from July all the way till you know October, December, November, when it started to get cold again, I was up here, and I was just meditating and walking. That's really what saved my life. That path I told you about, that was the sacred path for all these, you know, special sanctuary artifacts that are. I mean, there are lots of human-made artifacts, but the real special things are these sentinel, um, goagain, um, chi, places of earth, right? Like these rocks the size of school buses that are just stacked on top of each other, and there's this little cave about the size of my head, and you sit in front of it and you meditate. You go straight into the underground, and it's like these gigantic chasms, right? And it's straight out of that movie, Star Wars movie, where I think it's Empire Strikes Back, and Luke, um, their little planet that was an ice cube. They are finally found out, and they're getting bombed. And he takes off, and he gets Um, Ben tells him to go to this system and find Yoda to be his teacher, and he goes there. And it's like a big swamp. He lands his X fighter into the water, and it sinks. And he and RT find this little guy, and he thinks he's a pain in the ass, and that ends up being Yoda. And Yoda trains him. One of the things he does, he takes him to this cave and says, "Go on in there." And so he goes in there, and he sees Darth Vader walking towards him, and he takes his blaster and blows his head off and looks down there. And, Darth Vader's helmet is like blown into bits, and the face in there is Luke's. And that cave is the same cave. Right? And so that's the school. And so if you embrace that, and that's why I bought this place, because, my dog found all of that. And we realized together that this would be, the best place to have my mystery school. And, I had been preparing for 40 years as an itinerant scholar to do this, and in little bits and pieces. I did it every day in every way. But I tried, I had 3 years, 3 different times. I had a mystery school, and I had folks that I had been in that esoteric occult community in New York, in Boston, in Maryland, and then Vermont with Sensei, and a few other schools like that. So I had a lot of, fellow adepts, who went on and, like Tony Robbins, became super duper star, right? I mean, he's an adept, and he's really a great guy and does a great job. And it's not bad that he's a multi-zillionaire, and it's not bad that he markets it the way he does, It's just not the way I do it, right? And but a lot of those guys, we talk all the time, we email, and they said, I have a student that, I don't want to teach them, but you have the patience to, and they got a little something in there that you might be able to pull out, right? So those 3 different years that I had at school, I had I didn't advertise. Those people came from other people. They were. I was given the 411 about them, and so, and like I said, I don't have the patience to deal with these people, and but I know there's something in them that you could get it out of them. I can't. I don't want to waste my time. But you're the kind of guy who seems to do this, and so yeah, you go do it. So I'm sending them to you. So I did that, and pretty much out of the, let's see, 20, about 60 people over those 3 years. Maybe 8 had something I could. I mean, there was something in every one of them that I could pull out, but only 8 really stepped up to the task of being an adept and going on their own path. The rest just wanted to give me $300, and they wanted me to give them a certificate. They called them a shaman, right? And it's interesting because someone called me. I gave them a reading. And said, "You're a shaman," you know. Well, I've been trained to be one, but I'm not. I'm still in my path. Yeah, I'm a sensei. I'm a griot shaman, not quite. You have to be somebody like, who's a good example? Saint Germain. That would be. That's who I'm shooting for, right? If when I'm in shaman territory, I'm going to be like Saint Germain. So go look him up, right? His skill set. I got a bit of it, but I'm not Saint Germain. Might take another life or two, but that's where I'm going. That's where I've been tasked to go. And once I agree to do something, I do it to my best ability. I keep doing it until it gets either done or it's done to that point that it was meant to be done. I mean, there are a lot of, pretty much the whole universe is a work in progress. There is no finish line, right? So, let's see. Anyway, we'll watch in the morning. Thanks for returning. See you in Dreamland. Yep, I'll be there. This guy sounds like a real homie. Yep, he is. He's really funny, and he's this little old guy, and he's so sweet. And the fact that I kind of just picked up on his energy and asked him a few questions, and he just went, "Whoa, you're not the average guy that I even could find in this town. Where'd you come from?" I said, "Pretty much everywhere." So I had lunch with my friend whose business, and so I went there when I was. So he came up right when it was getting cold, and no one had seen me. Everyone heard that I died, and he came up in his Humvee up my stream bed 2-mile driveway, and he came driving up, and I saw him. I was in my bathrobe, and I was, covered in my electric blanket, and I went out to my front door with a big long extension cord as he drove up. He looked at me, and he just he says, "Get in my car." I said, "What?" He says, "You can't stay here. You're going to die." And I said, "Okay, let me just get a few things," and turn the power off, because I had it set up. I just hit one little switch. All the juice was off. The well, when I turned the juice off, there was a valve down in the basement that basically drained all of the pipes. So just hit one switch. It was ready to, hit that, lock the door, got in his Humvee. It was, in my bathrobe and my slippers and my electric blanket. And I said, "You got a long extension cord at home?" He goes, "Yes." So he took me home. He's got a nice house. And he says, "Okay, so you're not really dead sick, right? You're over that, right? You're like recuperating." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Good, because I got something for you to do, and only you can do it." I said, "Okay, sounds like fun." And so, he had this business, and he never expected it to last 25 years. And what happened was, like every 5 years, there'd be like a different, group of people. He'd would get bigger. He'd need to hire more people. It'd get bigger, and then he was like 60, 70 people there. But there were all these different groups. I've been here 20 years, so I know what's going on. All of you people are, forget about it. You're not one of us, right? So they had this real conflict going on the down low of these different groups that you're not one of us, and that's what an HR person was supposed to do. So that's what he wanted me to do. But I did it in my own way. So I showed up, I said, okay, you're going to work here and you're going to be on the books. So the book people will know that so everyone know you're an employee. So I said, how are you going to explain what I am? He goes, well, I'm going to, you're just going to be a dust because I can't, I had these metal clamps on my legs. I was walking with a walker. I was wearing my pajamas and my thing and an electric blanket, So how do you explain that when in a place of business? Well, he's going to come work here. Well, first of all, he bought me some clothes. He totally kitted me out in their business kit. So I looked like them and, but didn't, come on. And so he tells everyone that I was there to dust. So that was great. I was like a little feather duster, and I just kind of would dust everything. So that allowed me to go into every place, every office, every corner of this business and talk to everyone. I'm the duster. And then at a certain time, because of all this conflict of all these groups, some say, who the heck is this guy? And why is he asking me questions? Then he had to send a little email saying, well, he's not only the duster, but he's going to talk to every one of you. And he didn't say anything other than that. You can say whatever you want to say to them, but you can't say, no, I'm not going to talk to you. So I did. And I did my little thing with all those guys. And after, when spring and summer kind of came around, I was no longer needed there. So he took care of me very nicely, and he's my buddy, so he's always taking care of me. And I had his son lived on one side of Roanoke, and I had a friend, and she's really an old friend, really sweetheart, and she's probably one of the best, card readers. I'm the cold reader. She reads everything else, right? And so, back in the day, we were not a thing, but we were coming from that same community, and we were coming from that same skill set of this is what we do. This, and not what you read in a book how to do this. This is like in me. So she has it in her. She's really the best card reader I know, and her sets of cards are like mind-boggling. And she's a great astrologer too. So she does that, and that's her thing. Now, my thing is, I give people cold readings, right? So anyway, when I was in the doctor's office, I taught, I gave a few people there, a couple of his new nurses. I gave those, I gave about 5 people readings in the hospital, in the different offices I went to. And that's one reason why they take care of me. I kind of go in there and kind of do my little thing. I either amuse people or change their energy to a point where they get along with each other better. Anyway, so I did that there. Had the really interesting thing with the old guy. Then I went and had lunch with my friend. And all I did for him 4 years ago has come, and his whole business has been all the people who were like, yeah, they laughed because I said, went to all those folks, and instead of saying, you're fired, I said, people here just don't appreciate it. You need to go someplace where people appreciate it. And you're right. And so they left, and so they made it better. And the people who were the most cantankerous but needed to stay there, I said, you need to do da-da-da because you're the only person who can do that. You're right. And so they actually became better. So I went by there a couple of times looking for him, and he was off doing other stuff. So, I spent a good 3 or 4 times there, just walking around, talking to everyone, reading people's palms. Everyone said, before I even read their palm, they go, "You're Big Al." My persona had, left its mark there, even though I wasn't there for 3 years. There's stories of what I did there. Anyway, so it all was amazing. I mean, everything. I mean, they just got it together in the best of ways, and they were no longer worrying about shit. They were just doing it, and everyone's getting along, and everyone's having a good time, and the business is thriving. And as my friend said, well, we don't make a lot of money, but we pay. Everyone gets paid, and it's keeping us occupied, and it's a job that everyone loves to come to do. So that's if every business could be that, we'd have an amazing world, and we could have. That's the kind of capitalism you need. So they're doing really good. They're not becoming super rich like the rich guy wants, but he's already come to grips with that one, and he's like a little more relaxed, so he knows he's not going to have cardiac arrest, and he's getting into the flow of it. It only took him 30 years, but I talked to him. He was pretty good. So anyway, that was nice. I have a nice lunch with that guy and talk about everything that's going on and hearing stuff and giving a few. This is doing great. Because I was there 3 or 4 days before he was there. But you're here. I heard you were here. Good. Let's go have lunch. So that was good. And so then I was driving back up, and I met this kid on the side of the road, and I met his father a couple of weeks ago, and I gave him the father a reading, and so I could get a tell on what the kid is like. Till's got a lot of talent, right? And he has a lot of holdovers, not holdovers, but you can tell that he's had many past lives, right? Even though I'm an old guy, right? I have all this experience, blah blah blah. I'm really a young soul. I'm still a teenager. That's why I know I have other lives to live. And I've lived 6 of those. Other people have to really die and then come back as a baby and go. Me, no, I died 6 times, and so instead of having to do the baby thing and the child thing and the adolescent thing, being like, I got to do that. Different incarnations. Um, in this life, right? But like I said, I'm still a teenager, and that's why I have the energy, internal energy, the chi, to walk around being healthy as you can be, still with all this crap along the way, right? And to live like a millionaire, you know, on $400 a month, right? I mean, I really do. I mean, it's pretty. Everyone is amazed. They're like, "You're in this place? What? At this restaurant? You're, huh? How'd you? What? There's people. That guy knows you, huh? And John Keats wanted me to tell the stories of all the famous people I know. All the famous people I know weren't famous to me. They were just, John Lennon to me was just John. David Bowie. I had no idea he was David Bowie until I went to a big, he had a big party and people were asking me questions about what we had done the night before and how, blah, 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 because they were just the hanger-ons, and people go, "You've known him for how many years?" I said, "Oh, I met him Wednesday." But how does, and John was saying, well, aren't you, when you were fat, did you really feel upset? Did you have to hide yourself? Did you, how did women, I never, women, I'm not thinking about sex. I really don't, every so often, I should jerk off now. So I do, but I don't jerk off every day. I don't jerk off a lot. Just, when my body says, you should jerk off. That's how it works. It's biology, it's chemistry, it's hormones, right? That's what sex is. It's like a manifestation of having us reproduce, right? And so, but the other side, why we motivate to do that is because it's kind of fun and enjoyable, and it's a way of sharing this dharmic and organic and orgone energy, which is one of the things that, if you want to call, I don't, the great maker has us, meaning when we do that, great maker gets a jolt. He likes it when we have fun. I know it likes it when we're being our best, right? And nothing is a real sin. What do we? Romper Stomper says, tried shooting dice. Jesus. Ow. And I'm glad you put that in the way you put it, because I'm not going to pop you off. You romper stomper. You keep being the best you can be, and you can stay part of the cadre, right? So, um, but if you turn out to be a troll, or I don't think romper stomper is a Russian bot. No, I don't think so. And if you keep, that's very good input, Romper Stomper. And if you can be as creative and interesting as your comment, and that you're diplomatic, and you put it, message has been held in review. What's the next one you've said here? Uh, yes, I know I brought this up. Like I said, I'm giving you creds, buddy. So it's all good. It's all good. But anyway, so I don't think about sex. I got other stuff on my mind. I'm writing novels. I'm reading people's energy, and I'm thinking about universal dynamics and dimensional fun and games. And, that's what I'm doing. I'm not thinking, but every so often, at least once, twice, maybe three times a year, some young lady will tap me on the shoulder, and I'll go, "Hi, how you doing?" And they go, "You're cute. Let's talk. Let's go have coffee." Let's go have coffee is like the secret handshake, right? So when John said, "Well, what?" and I said, I probably had sex with 300 women in my life, and really, over 72 years, that's not a lot, and that I keep doing it. So no, I am not. I'm not thinking about how I look. It seems women think I'm okay. It seems people are attracted and like my company. So, and I get, the people who would bully me, they don't. Even when I was a little peanut of a kid, bullies had no real effect on me, because I wasn't thinking, oh my God, they're bullying me. They're making fun of me. Even when they did, I had no idea they were, because I wasn't even thinking about that, right? Like that, I've told this story. I at first grade, I get murdered by a Nazi nun, right? But I get saved by an angel, right? And then because I've been murdered by a Nazi nun in Hitler's Rifle Squad, HOS, Holy Redeemer School, Hitler's Rifle Squad. The cardinal, my parents were like bowling with the Pope in Rome, and so I stayed. My grandma and I stayed at St. Pat's and at the Cardinal's apartment, which was like bigger than most golf courses. I mean, St. Pat's is way bigger than it's like the Tardiness. It's bigger on the inside than the outside, and on the outside, it's this gigantic edifice on Fifth Avenue across from Rockefeller Center. Anyway, so I did that, and then they sent me off to be with the Marinos, who kind of put my psyche back together. So I wasn't traumatized by being murdered by a Nazi nun, because all I remember is getting grabbed. I was on the, not gonna get under the desk, because we were having a nuclear war test. 10 blocks from the Empire State Building, which would be ground zero for a Russian hydrogen ICBM, where we'd be turned into atoms in nanoseconds. And I explained that to the nun, and she got pissed off and grabbed me by the neck, put me up against a concrete wall, and went boom, and knocked me out. So I didn't feel anything. I woke up in a Catholic hospital like 5 days later, my head in a cast and my jaw wired, and I can't see out of this eye, I can't hear out of this ear, but out of this ear, I'm hearing these nuns over here going, well, as soon as his brain, as soon as we take the cast off his head, we're going to give him a frontal lobotomy, right? And I'm hearing that. I kind of know what that is. Even at 6, I knew what that was. And I'm going, uh-oh. Couldn't say anything. Couldn't, complain. Couldn't even move my head. Couldn't do this. And really couldn't move my body. And out of nowhere, door gets kicked open. The doctor who saved my life at birth, who brought me into this world, Dr. Black, she just went in, and the nuns were in shock. She just scooped me out of that bed, took me out of that room, went down the hallway. This nun, who was like a linebacker, went for her, and Dr. Black kicked her right in the nuts. And that's how I knew that nun was a guy, because she got her right between the legs, and the person acted like was a guy. I mean, you kick some young lady or old lady between the legs, they don't have the same reaction guys do. And so this guy was either a tranny or he was hiding in plain sight. So he's another Nazi. And she kicked him so hard that flew through the air, smashed through the exit door of the staircase, and you could hear boom, boom. So that poor person really wasn't feeling too good when they got to the bottom of the staircase. And her chauffeur, who's this like big black guy, is Sergeant X. That's what I used to call him. Xavier, right? But I used to call him X. And he, did things. He was in World War II. He did things, right? That most military, but he was a master sergeant, right? So anyway, and he was her chauffeur and bodyguard. And he's standing in the elevator door, holding the door. She flies in with me in her arms. We go down, get in the Cadillac, and she's running Roosevelt Hospital. She's got the whole place set up for me. I spend about 3 weeks there. Then I'm brought over to the Cardinals' place, spend about 2 months there, and then I go to Garden City and hang for 2 years with the Marinols. And that's where I learned Latin, Greek, Hebrew. I learned a whole bunch of other, and because they were just the most amazing people, and they weren't like Jesuits or Franciscans. They weren't really sick. They were the sweetest, loving, caring, and smart people I had ever been with. And that's where I learned how to speak. And because I couldn't speak, my esophagus was crushed, so I didn't get the right amount of air. And so I had to learn how to meditate, how to do circle breathing. I did that at 7, 8, and had all these amazing experiences. So there was 2 lives right there by the time I was 8. So every day is like that. So today was like that. And so I met this kid on the side of the road. He's a really good musician. He's a really good artist. He's a lot like John, but he hasn't let the trauma of his lives get to him, right? And he's had way more traumas than John has ever had. So some people made fun of him because he was a little chunky. Anyway, so and when we were talking about weight, and I said, I weighed 400. He said, well, didn't people make fun of you? No one ever freaking made fun of me when I was really big. Never. They got out of the way. And he goes, well, you had to be a really mean guy. You had to curse all the time and spit on people and get them. No, I was the pussycat. I mean, this is the guy you get, no matter how. And John, I've told him this a million times, and he doesn't quite remember anything I say to him, and I keep, trying to lead him to water and have him drink it. But, John's going to do what John's going to do. I have to say that John, from when I met him 7 years ago, he is better than he was then, but by about that much, right? And the last 2.5 weeks that I've been here, he's gotten better about that much. Now that's still good. That's still positive movement, right? So I'm going for however much time I stay here, that when I leave, he will be able to go down interact with people, and maybe, or not maybe, but get a life, whatever life he wants. So this kid, he's going for the gusto, and he doesn't have parents that drop thousands into his. He doesn't even have a checking account, right? So, but so hey, come over here. So I talked to your dad. Oh yeah, I know. So we talked, and I gave him a reading. I just put him on the floor. He couldn't. I mean, I just boom, 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 right? Because first I talked to his dad. His dad didn't really say anything about his son, right? But I read the energy of his father, and I read the energy of this kid in his father. So I had a pretty good 411 of energetically what this kid was. Then I saw him and saw his energy, and then I read his palm, and I just, hit him between the eyes. And and I've been telling everyone this. I've been giving this gift to everyone, and I'm going to give it to you guys now. And that is right now, from this second until Monday, astronomically up in the sky, the planets, the stars, the universes, they're all aligning in a way that they haven't aligned for at least 60,000 years. And in these next 5 days, you, adepts out there, have the opportunity to really make a big jump into who you want to be. Right now, from this second, I want you to close your eyes, take a big breath. Your lungs are full of prana. You feel the energy of it animating every cell of your body. You feel your feet connected to Gaia. You feel the chi in your body. You feel the circuit, the prana coming in, the chi being your ground and taking the current all the way through. And there's the twin flame of being a conscious spirit, right? And again, you are not your body, and you are not your soul. Your soul is a server. That is, you're standing in front of your imaginary mirror. You see the goldness. That's imaginary mirrors, the backside of your eyelids, where you have REM sleep, where you have dreams. So and that's where I got, that's why I call the show Dreamy Dreamland. Because before I do it, I put shamanic energy into the World Wide Web. So you observers, you adepts of the cadre here, are getting this energy. And anybody else out there in the World Wide Web while I'm doing this is getting the energy, right? So there you are, and you're sitting in a place that you're comfortable, you're safe, you're warm, you're not going to fall over, you can't hurt yourself, but you're letting your awareness of your body go. And I want you to think of some moment, whether it was you're in a park and you're sitting on a bench and you're not really doing anything, you're just, sitting, you just sat down and you're looking around and you're not thinking, all you're doing is taking in what's around you. And you start to feel this sense of well-being that you don't know where it's coming from, but you're not thinking about, oh, I have to go do this, I have to meet this person, I have to go to work, I have to pay my bills, I have to do the laundry, I have to brush my teeth. You're not, oh, I want to get laid. You're not thinking about any of that, right? And boys, if you don't know that girls think, I want to get laid, girls are sex. Boys are just sperm providers, meaning they really don't understand what's. That's why they think about it all the time, because they don't know what it is, right? Anyway, so I can see in this kid all of this stuff going on, and I'm just going this, here, this, right? And now you are just like this kid, and I got him to stand there and be in that space of well-being, right? And that well-being brings you into a state of ease, right? And when you're in ease, that's where I'm at all times, in this state of ease. That's why everything works. That's why I have homeostasis. That's why I'm balanced. That's why, when I deal with any crazy scene and you see all the YouTubes of me and John, what am I? Patient, consciously aware, talking, in a way that he, trying to explain, try to bring him to a place of understanding where he might go, oh, yes, I can have a life. Oh, yes, I do have all these talents. Oh, yes, I've been blessed my whole life. Oh, yes, all those little things were just insignificant things. I don't need to harp on them. I don't need to let the negative thoughts of them in my head. I can just think of all of the goodness that I am, and then I will say good words, which will bring, good thoughts bring good words, which bring good actions, which bring good outcomes, rather than, sick words bring sick shit out of your mouth that brings horrific actions that bring unbelievably bad outcomes. Which one do you want? It's all up to you. You are the decider. So there you are. You're sitting, standing, but you're in a state of ease. I want you to really feel that really, really well. You're on the bench. Forrest Gump is there offering me some chocolate. Sounds good to me. That is kind of what I'm talking about. So Romper's got it. You're in this place, and when Forrest Gump was on that bench, that's what he was. He was in that ease, and he put that woman who was like, he put her at ease, right? So you have this great opportunity in the next 5 days to be in that state of ease, and because of everything that's going on above you, you can have with that ease a realization, making it happen, of conscious intent, right? So you think with your conscious awareness, conscious aware I am, conscious aware I am, conscious aware I am. A good way to start, people say, oh, I need my mantra. Well, there's one right there. Conscious aware I am, conscious aware I am, conscious aware I am, which makes you aware of your 360, what's all around you, 3 blocks in any direction, and you're 20, right where you are, right? So when you know where you are, you can step forward in perfect timing. I mean, Jesus was able to walk across the water because he was in perfect timing. Every time he stepped, there was a turtle right under his foot. And he stepped on another turtle. It was perfect timing, right? So you have to visualize all of this, right? And with that awareness, you can have conscious intent. I am conscious intent. I am conscious intent. I am. And that intent is what you want for your life forever, starting right now. And by taking love's co-creation in every day, in every way, every second of that day, you can be your best. You can do your best. You don't have to be perfect. Just do your best. And if you do this, if you do this, this is the thing that will give you spiritual enlightenment. Not this minute, not the second, but there is no finish line. This is a work in progress. Whatever it, and it's the most fun thing to do at the moment. And you will meet the people you need to meet. You will do the things you need to do. You will have the experiences you need to have, and they will be blessings, and you'll be at ease, and you won't be diseased. Got it? So, and that's why, for those 10 years working in the corporate world for the desperate lawyers, I was surrounded by disease. But I needed to do that. I needed to go through that experience of total hedonism, total gluttony, and experience that, because that is what our present monetary mercantile system is all about. And to experience and die from it, and then reborn to realize, okay, and people go, oh, is there anything that you're disappointed or you regret about that? No, not at all. Not a second, not a bit. I enjoyed every bit of it. well, you're so fat. Didn't people make fun of you? No, they didn't, because everyone around me needed me. They weren't going to, like, you know, make fun of me. I was there to do a job, a thing, a purpose, and they were the benefactor of it. And they paid me ridiculously well for it. And so, no, never did. And pretty much all my friggin' life, even when I was getting murdered by a nun, no, I don't regret it, because it broke my jaw. So I speak a different way. So I have to speak extremely deliberate, or I stutter. I mean, that's how I was taught how not to stutter, right? Because I don't have all of the peristalsis and all the reactive things you do when you breathe and you speak. It, just isn't there. I mean, I can breathe. I can breathe in certain ways that most people can't. Right? I can hear out of this ear, and yes, I can't hear certain frequencies, but I hear other ones. Thus, it gives me this Doppler effect, so I can tell where things are to the centimeter. In a pitch black room, I can walk through it like I'm seeing, because I have sonar that I can. Tables over there, the chairs over here, the open hole in the floor is here in pitch black. You know. And, when I had my mystery schools, I was ready to teach people how to do that, because I was, my sensei, in Vermont, he knew exactly what I was before I even showed up. When I lived with the Wallamajira, they were expecting me 6 months before I even showed up. They were waiting by the side of the road for more than 3 weeks, because they knew I was going to show up, but they weren't quite sure what minute or day it was, because I was off the beaten path. I mean, it wasn't like we were on the highway. We were sent there, and the bus, diverged from its normal path to drop us off at Christmas Creek. And we went there, and they dropped us off, and it was pretty obvious that no white people in a car was going to come by here like ever, because it was kind of a road path, but there were no tire tracks. Only tire tracks were made by that bus, and the dirt, it was kind of muddy and dusty. And if anyone had driven down that road in the last year, you could still, I would have been able to see it, right? So bus drives away. I know my wife and I, she kind of gets it. We had 2 suitcases and a bunch of, we had stopped eating cheeseburgers and Cokes about a week before we got off the bus. We just, wherever there was fruit and water, that's what we ate. So I had a big bag of fruit and nuts, walnuts that were cracked, and, a couple of liters of water. And this, there were trees, so we weren't in the direct sun. So I stuck the 2 suitcases on top of each other and I said, honey, just sit on top of that, because there were little creepy crawly things that if they bit you, you were dead in 3 minutes, like the redback spider. It's like the size of it, like that big. It bites you, you're dead in 3 minutes. And so, we weren't getting to any hospital for 19 days. And so, and no car was ever going to come by there. So, But as the bus drove in, I kind of spied a junk pit, a dump. And as an anthropologist, when you want to know what's going on with the peeps, you go look at their garbage, right? So that was the only thing I had to go by. And so I stuck her on the suitcases, and I ran a quarter mile up to where that dump was, went over the hill into it, and there were these 2 little black guys, drunk out of their minds, and surrounding them were about 100 beer cans, and they were just going at it, slapping each other, punching each other, and laughing hysterical. And I just sat up on the hill, stood up on the hill. I came over this, from the road. I kind of went up this path and over this hill, and there's the dump down there, and there's these guys whacking each other. And after a few blows to each other, and they're laughing hysterically, they kind of look up, and they're really drunk. Their eyes are bloodshot. They look right at me, and they go, well, Al, how'd you like your first night in Australia? And that's a whole nother story. They came to me, and that was a year ago, and I was only going to be there a month, and I'd been there a year and a half. And the government of Australia sent me to do an ethnography on these guys. Anyway, and 2 years later, I was thrown out of the government, my wife and I, because we had you were only supposed to be here 6 months. I said, yeah, but you guys employed us all of this time. Okay, yeah, we're bad. Not your problem, not your fault. But you got to go. And I said, not a problem. We want to go. And they sent us off. We took an ambassador class back to America. We had no money to get back. That's why we were there for so long. And we were doing all this fun stuff, so why should we go when we're having this great adventure? And that's been my whole life, right? And so my wife and I, we were a great team. We did amazing things together. We really loved each other. We had a great physical attraction to each other. And why my wife really, 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 really adored me, and every woman who's ever been with me, is because when I'm with a woman, I'm with that woman. I'm not looking at some other chick's tits. I'm not like, I'm with that one. My attention is 100% on that woman, not somebody else. Right? Now, I may have my attention on other stuff. I'm writing something, reading something, building something, creating something. But most times, that woman is my muse and is part of that. Even if that's not her thing, she's still part of it, right? And that's why the people I get involved with love being with me, because they're having a life they normally never experience. And so am I because of them. And I'm blessed to have, those people in my life. And so whenever I'm with that one woman 100%. And I got their back. And we're a team. And, and I bring that out in them. And they love that. They're no longer the selfish bitch. They are who they really are, right? They're not pretending anymore. They're not, putting on an act. They're not, being a princess. And I was trying to explain to John that I've known there were women in my life who were actual royalty, meaning the zillionaire. Stephanie came from Switzerland. Her lineage goes back, to kings and queens of the Nordic type, right? So she was a real royal person. She never acted like, I'm a princess. She acted like she was amazing, right? She was on the cover of, the swimming suit issue of Sports Illustrated. She was on the cover 5 frigging times. When she was top of her game as a model, she was the top paid underwear Ford model, period, right? And yet she was schooled to be a concert director, write concert music. She was first piano, first violin, first celloist in every orchestra. She was in the Lincoln Center Orchestra. She was one in Switzerland, one in London. She went to every amazing music school there was. And she was a real queen, not just a princess, but a queen, And that's how I treated her. And that's why she loved me. That's why we're together for a year and a half, right? And they were ready to getting, the stars just came out of unalignment. But we still loved each other, still great friends, still sweeties. But things changed. And that's pretty much every woman that I've totally been with was like that. And back in the day when I was the dude disco guy, there was a 6-month period where I slept with a different woman a night. Because I was in all these discos working, and I was like John Travolta. And I didn't even know this. See, I don't know these things when they're going on. I'm just living them. I'm not self-conscious. I'm self-aware, but I'm not self-conscious. I have a consciousness of my higher self, but of this little mud puppet here, no. I've never been self-conscious about anything I do. I'm in the moment. I'm doing my best. I have perfect timing. I had a nickname for years. Instead of being called Al, I was called Perfect Timing. I also had a nickname Cheesecake. Let's see what other. I've had so many nicknames. Let's see. My outlook is I never lose. I win or learn, but never lose. Well, that's all semantics and germanology, meaning words. What do they mean? Right? They mean different things for different people. I would say I never lose. I would say I'm not a loser, meaning, I guess you're right about that because I remember. So I don't gamble, right? Period. Meaning I have suppositions, opinions, but I don't bet money. I don't step into anything unless pretty much I'm doing it for a reason. I have my three rules, doctor, do no harm, don't get involved unless you have a workable exit strategy and you're going in to save the innocent folk, right? And third, don't get involved unless you can learn something that will enable you to take the piece of the earth in every day in every way to do your best. Those are my three little when I do something. So now I've been in gambling scenes and I've gambled, and when I'm in that, I basically say, okay, I'm going to put, $40 in my pocket, and that's kind of what I'm going to play with. If I win it or lose it, that's it. And if I get into a streak where I win, like I was in Nevada, where they had one-armed bandits, and it wasn't like in Nevada, there are places like they have them in gas stations, especially truck stops, big truck stops. They got right, and they're run by the same mobsters who do Las Vegas. So anyway, I remember being in this one truck stop. I was what was I doing? I was just hitchhiking, and I had all of about $12 in my pocket, right? So I went over and got a cheeseburger and had really good milkshakes. They had really good milkshakes. So I had cheeseburger, milkshake, French fries. Really, I mean, the cheeseburger was great. The fries were those big cut, things. And I put the plate on top of the thing, and I had like $6, $8 of these coins that went into the machine. You didn't put money into the machine. You bought these coins and put the coins in there. And if you won, these coins would come out, and then you turn them in or play more. And that's really what was designed to. That you would, yes, it would let you win a little, and then you'd, like, and so, did that, and I hit the jackpot. Bang. Got, $1,800. The first coin I put in, bang, $1,800, right? And I played another $5 of coins, and I lost each time. And I said, that's it. And the guy goes, no, keep playing. You're so lucky. And I said, no, I'm lucky. I'm going to stop. Now I have, $1,700 and $900 and $4. So that's I've lost, but I'm like you, So, and I learned. And one time I did in Little Italy. I was with this girl, and I was throwing the ball at the pins, and they were knocking down. Right, I was just knocking them. Teddy bear, this, that, and she had an armful of stuff. And then he goes, "How would you like to play for some real money?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you put $20 down. See that color television set? You keep doing it like you're doing it, boy. You got the arm. You're gonna." Get that color TV set for your girlfriend. Oh, I need a color TV set. I'll be so appreciative. Okay. So anyway, I went at it, and I, went through $50. Bing, bing, bing. Because the milk bottles weren't made out of wood. They're made out of metal. He hit a little switch there, electric magnet. I mean, my ball hit those things, and it bounced off. Right. So, So yeah, I learned not to play those games. So I'm with you. Right. So, So I'm not a loser, and I mean, I've lost at things, but I learned from them, right? And so, and that's when I say, do your best, but you're not perfect. It's the same thing, Don't worry about it. period. Live your life, go for the gusto. I'm eating cheesecake. Yeah. I used to have these infamous, famous potluck dinners, and I lived in a place that there were these amazing. The subway came from Brooklyn, and there was an amazing two cheesecake places if you got on the map neck of the woods near Red Hook or Williamsburg, and coming down Second and Third Avenues, there were about 8 really good cheesecakes if you went towards my house and then went into the Lower East Side. So people who weren't cooks or didn't or were in a rush, I'd end up with 4 or 5 really nice cheesecakes every time I had a potluck dinner. And because I'd have about 20 to 50 people at these potluck dinners, a lot of people brought great stuff they cooked, and there were a lot of regulars who had a speciality that they would bring. And so anyway, and then, people would just have the greatest, these parties wouldn't end until, the next day. And there'd be a lot of like totally drunk, stoned people on the carpet and on the couches. And, I'd go to bed at a certain, like by 3, I'd, go upstairs and go to bed. And, especially if there were 2 women who would come to these parties, and they were really good. They they shared me, right? that was the only time I had 2 women in my life at the same time, because they really loved it. They were going at it themselves, but they loved sharing me, which was kind of fun. It was. I liked being the meat in their sandwich, and so I would go to bed, and in the morning I'd wake up. I kind of, if light comes in the window, I wake up. I go to sleep when it's dark and wake up when it's light, right? But I'm not a morning guy. So if I want to go to sleep, I put on I have these things that cover my eyes, and then I go back to sleep. Anyway, but indubitably, when I wake up in the next morning, like, 10, 11 o'clock or whatever, there'd be at least 10 people splayed out across my living room floor and couches. And there'd be 4 or 5 people over there just eating cheesecake, Anyway, so I got the nickname Cheesecake. So that's the story of how I got the nickname. So today was a very interesting day because I probably talked to 50. I just I could see the energy at certain people. I was in a couple of different stores. I read lots of, like I went to Habitat, and I read 3. This one guy, he, something was wrong here at John's, and they were selling at Lowe's. The switches were $4. At Habitat, they were 25 cents. So I bought a couple of switches, because all the switches in this place are like, 70 years old. He got them out of buildings that, that they had already been used for 30 years. So anyway, so I bought a few things that I knew that I saw that might need to be fixed in this place. And so, and it's a lot better in so anyone wants to send me some money, people I have to thank those folks who have sent me stuff to my PayPal account. And if any one of you 7 want to do it, I'd love you. Mr. Rumpelstiltskin here, if you want to send me some cash to my PayPal, go to it, and then they'll ask my email, which is, and anybody wants to write me, it is thedudeawake42@gmail, right? And I have to thank everyone who writes me on Gmail, and all of them can attest that I get back to them. And when you get a hold of me on the old Gmail, it's just you and me. So you can ask me kind of personal things that you may not want to say on here on the World Wide Web, and we can talk about it. And I'm happy to do it, right? But if you go to PayPal and they'll ask for my email, it is thedudeawake42@gmail. So I have to thank all of the folks who have sent me stuff. Very, very pleased. And so no one's sending me a zillion dollars. It's, and I can tell that it's from your heart because it's of amount that I can tell that that's all you had, you know. So I'm really appreciative of that because, if you're giving up, buying yourself a slice of cheesecake to send that 5-10 bucks to me, thank you, thank you, thank you. But those folks who send me, larger amounts, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's truly amazing. Like, so I saw these doctors, and yes, they don't really charge me, but to keep me on their books, I'm like at the lowest level of payment. I'm like the really poor person level. And just, if I don't pay that, then they don't take care of me. It's like I have one checking account left. And if I don't keep it alive, you can't send stuff to the PayPal, right? And there are a few things that, like my phone, gets automatically taken out of that. So, I live right on the edge, but it lasts 7 years. I live like a millionaire and, on 400 bucks a month. And a good deal of that comes from you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But if you want to send something, PayPal, the due to wait 42. You want to talk to me, due to wait 42 at Gmail, right? So we have these 5 days, guys, and you really, starting from this minute, and you're still in, shamanic state. You're still, our friend here, Rumpelstiltskin, he is, on bench, right? And so he is at ease. And I hope all of you who are there are in ease, because when you're not in ease, you are diseased, right? And that's why our world is in such diseased, because ease has been taken away from them, right? For chump change, there's a small handful of reptiles that play play us against each other, and all they get is chump change and a little titillation, right, from all the suffering. So, um, tomorrow or Friday, I will be at this coffee shop looking for this old guy, and I will have my laptop, and I will do a live chat there, and that should be interesting. So today was a very good day because I probably read 20 people's palms. So anyway, I was going through, that habitat place, and because there's always really like light switches, pretty good light switches, for 25 cents instead of $3. I needed some solid wire, 12 gauge or 14, and with the THHN. And it was a brand new, there were all these rolls of wire, and most of them were like just maybe 20 feet left. Well, there was one there, just what I needed, and it was like all the other ones, $2. It was like instead of 20 feet, it was 250 feet on this nice little metal coil, right? So, well, look at that. $2. I needed a keyhole saw, right? Instead of going to Lowe's and paying $20 for it, I paid $1 for it. A really nice one, really long one, really just what I was looking for. What else did I get? I got an amazing fondue pot. I mean, amazing, but it didn't have the cord, right? And they wanted $10 for it. And I went to the manager and I said, "Look at this, no cord. How can I, buy this? You can't sell me. How about $2?" He goes, "Okay," because he just wants to get rid of this crap. So I went out in the cart and I'm looking at it. I'm taking a wire, and I also bought a bunch of extension cords, really nice ones, for 50 cents freaking a piece, right? I bought a bunch of them and stuff like that. I mean, if you went to Lowe's, that would be $6, 50 cents, right? So anyway, I spent all of about $18 and so anyway, I put the stainless steel fondue pot in the back seat, and I'm looking at it, turning it around, turning it upside down, and I'm holding it by this thing that it doesn't have the cord on, right? But and it has this like exotic pluggy thing that it's not the standard, frying pan thing. But I have like 4 or 5 of them back at the deep green. Anyway, I'm holding it up, pick it up from its thing, and it comes undone, which I didn't think it did. And of course, what is on the other end but the standard frying pan plug, which I have a bunch, and that you can pretty much get anywhere, right? And this thing probably sold at Bed Bath and Beyond and fondue pots was probably $80. So I got it for 2 because it didn't have a plug on it, but I held it up and it fell off. And oh look, standard frying pan thing. So that's when I knew it was a good day. I got all this stuff. What else did I buy? Oh, I read the lady's palm, right? And she pulled out these amazing box of organic oatmeal cookies, and she goes, "We have a bunch down here for our special patrons, and you don't belong to the club, but you just read my palm, and you just made me feel so good, and I feel such at ease, and you made me laugh. So here's 3 of these boxes. They're like worth $20 a piece. I mean, they're really expensive. They were donated to us. So here's 3. Give them away." So I did. Each one had about 4. So when I was reading people, I'd read them. And I'd hand them the box, and they'd have it. Wow, this is a great cookie. So that's what I did all day. And that's what you can do all day, right? You can have this kind of life. And if everyone had this kind of life, we would have peace on earth. John goes, well, only a few people are going to heaven. And he takes all these quotes that he gets off the internet. Now, he sent me a few, I don't know, I'm sure I got these, I get 3 or 4 things on my email where they send me quotes, which ain't bad. I mean, they're really good. I read them. Oh, yeah, thanks. I like that, and sometimes I, tell you guys them. And anyway, but John takes these quotes and kind of turns them sideways to prove whatever he's proving to himself. And he said this one quote about the gates of heaven are very narrow and only a few people get through. But he doesn't understand what that means is that it's not that it keeps everyone, only the special few get to walk. No, a few get to walk in at a time, but everyone's going to be walking through that gate at whatever time they're supposed to be walking through. And that's basically what it's a metaphor about, is that we don't live in linear time, right? That's what it's saying. We don't live in linear time. And everyone's going to make it when it's their time to walk through it, right? And there is no linear time, so everyone's going to get to go home. No one's going to spend eternity in the lake of molten fire. I mean, now there are people who are in it right now. I mean, you walk the streets, you can see these people are in the lake of molten fire. John is in the lake of molten fire half the time. When this side is this gentle, honest, generous child, innocent, right? This side, demon, right? And in the last 7 years, the demon was winning, and now, John is like a 58% gentle, sweet, innocent child. So he's pushing the demon out, right? He's got to do it. I can be his mentor. I can be his cheerleader. I can, be there for him, but can't really make him do it. Can't do anything but be the example that I am. And same with you guys. I'm here to be a cheerleader. That's what I'm here to do. To see you all to get home, right? Yes. Romper Stomper, right? And the character Rumpelstiltskin gets a really bad name, right? But in reality, he's not that bad a guy. He's just pretty much always having a bad day. But if you read Grimm's fairy tales, which are, these are stories written for kids. on my YouTube here, I say this show isn't for children, and basically what I'm saying, the show ain't for childish minds. It doesn't matter the age, but they want me to say that, so I'll say that. But Rumpelstiltskin, I mean, those characters from Grimm's were like, whoa. And the interesting about Grimm's fairy tales, back in Middle Age mythology, the character Grimm was not an individual. It wasn't like Grimm's brothers. No, it wasn't these two guys from New Jersey. A Grimm is like the Grim Reaper, and the Grimm goes after people who are the demons, So if you read those stories, you always kind of see that bad guy or the demon or whoever gets it in the end. And if some human being gets it, it's only because they got the demonic thing going on, right? So, in a manner of speaking. But Romper Stomper, I see your good side, and there's more good in you than bad. And again, good and bad are total subjective terms, but there's more in you that's honorable. That's a better way of putting it, There's more in you that's sweet and generous than selfish and mean. Now, you have a cheeky monkey in you that if anyone you, yes, you idiot. Don't you think I know that? I know you are, the troll guy, but there's still that good in you, that innocence, that, and that's why I haven't popped you out of here. When you first started, are you a good bee or a bad bee? I give you a shot at being the cadres. I mean, there are a lot of folks. You think you're the baddest ass, the biggest Rumpelstiltskin. Why do you think I called you Rumpelstiltskin instead of Romper Stomper? When you called yourself a headless horseman, duh. Just bark for me. Just, I'm just gonna do this just for the fun of it. Yeah. Do you know what dog is? It's God backwards. Okay, I'll see you later, Rumpel. You be a good pony now. See that guy? He's getting there. He's getting there. He really is. He's getting there, right? He will be a part of our. He'll be, when you go into high school and they have the big glass case and they have the big cups and pictures of, and Bobby ran this. Well, that's Rumpelstiltskin, right? He's gonna, right. So, buddy, you have a good night. Sweet dreams. All the best. And Rumpelstiltskin, listen, you got these 5 days to, exercise your more rough edges. That's all you got is rough edges. You can eat out of you, So, and you're you're interesting. You're fun. You're smart. I don't know what gender you are or what planet. Whether you have tentacles or fingers. But it's all good, right? So. Oh my God, you fucking hug. I'm you Jasnaz, you idiot. Right. Yes. Duh. Okay. Where were we? Oh, yes. Almost 2 hours. 10:59. I'm going to get something. I'm going to say goodnight. So I'll see you in the morning, right? So, and if I blocked anybody or done any of that, I did it. I didn't even know I did it. I mean, a couple of people say somehow they can watch it, but they can't chat, really. And John has been, I mean, he's been a help, but about that much. I mean, we unblocked 3 of you, but if there are more of you, and that's what I thought I did, or it, Mr. Rumpelstiltskin here, because I think he's the it that did that. And he is a cheeky monkey for doing that. I mean, I gave whoever that it was, they had all of 20 seconds to block everyone on that chat. I mean, that was pretty quick. that it was more, on top of it than I sure was. I had no idea. I hit the wrong button. It's like anyway. But it's all good, right? And and I have so many shows up, guys. I'm telling you, go back and just download them all so you can watch them at your own leisure, because I'm pretty sure this internet is going to go bye-bye this year. And it will be taken over by Elon Musk. We're going to have the Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos world, And Jeff Bezos, all those guys, Mr. Teeny Penis Micro Billy, and Inhuman Faceless Book, and boy, and even Bob Jobs of Apple, and the Google twins or triplets, they all were targeted by the hidden hand to be brought up to be, poster boys and girls for this new global baloney world, right? And this little device that we all have, this thing, is basically a miniaturization of the Keyhole 7 satellite of the 1970s and 80s. That was the size of a school bus that they put up in geosynchronous orbit that could look down and read, the writing off of a cigarette pack 300 miles below it. And that's what, and that's what all of this technology is surveillance. You have Suri or Sandra or whatever that Hucky Puck's name is that Jeff Bezos has in everyone's house. And anyone who has the Internet of Things, why do you need your toaster oven to talk to you? Why does your toaster oven need a camera in it? It's to listen and watch you, So everything that on these devices goes back to the cloud. That's all about you. Well, they know about, Al Bob, and exactly they kind of let Al Bob do his own thing because, I'm kept down on the farm and there's a limited cadre here. And they realize at some point they may need us, as they've needed me a number of times, to do stuff. And that stuff is honorable and righteous because everyone in the hidden hand, the dark state, whatever you want to call it, they're not all bad. Actually, it is what it should be. And that's one of my teachers always said, all things are what they should be. And they are. And how you can manifest the best out of it is by being the best. So you have 5 days to focus on that. Conscious awareness I am. Conscious awareness I am. Conscious awareness I am. Om. And once you got that conscious awareness, you then say, conscious intent I am. Conscious intent I am. Conscious intent I am. Om. Do that in one breath. And the prana will be connected to your chi to the point where you close your eyes. You'll see the silvery gold screen that's in your imaginary mirror there. You walk through it. You go into your library. Right there is your Akashic record. You sit down. You open it up. You put your right hand on the right blank page, left hand on the left, and you evacuate all the negativity in you, right? And then it's there like an ink blot. You close the book, you open it up, then there's a big screen, and 28 little screens all around, and you will see still and moving pictures explaining exactly what that anxiety, what all of that you've just eliminated into the book, because it shows you what connective tissue to whatever action or situation you're in. And you go, oh, that's why I did that. Oh, I won't do that again. And then those 28 ones give you 28-dimensional view of every angle of that situation. And that's what the Akashic Record does. Run your fingers across the gold edge leafed, and it's like a mouse. You can see all the past lives you had, everything you've ever done, and into the future. Now, the future can be a little blurry because it's not here yet in this illusion of a material world, but it already does exist because everything exists in one bang, right? And we're just experiencing it. And the only way we can do it is in a linear way as a meat puppet. So that's kind of where we are, right? Yeah. Let's see. Message deleted by Dreamy Dreamer. Telltale Bomb. View deleted message. Okay. So that's the show. Now go, and you're in state right now, and visualize your better self and doing your best in every day and every way. And from this moment on, you're going to be your better self. You don't have to be perfect. And Sunday, you go and sit at that place where you can be in ease and bring that realization of your better self into you. From that moment on, you're just going to get better and better and better, including Rumpelstiltskin, right? So I hope you're well, you stay good, and I hope you enjoyed the time that we spent together. I know I have. See you guys. See you tomorrow. See you in the morning, right? Okay, let's see. What are we going to do here? We're going to hit this little button here. We're going to hit this little button over here.